Final part of our deep dive into the fascinating world of risk management.
Okay, so we've really explored the nuts and bolts of risk management, from identifying those potential pitfalls
Yeah.
to developing those all-important contingency plans.
Right.
But as we kind of wrap up our deep dive into Andy's lecture,
Hmm.
I want to touch on something that he only briefly mentioned,
Okay.
which is the human element of risk. We've talked about data and analysis, but what about the role of communication?
Yeah.
And dare I say, emotions when it comes to managing risk? It is interesting you bring that up,
Yeah.
because Andy does acknowledge that risk perception, it's often subjective
Right.
and influenced by factors beyond just, cold, hard data,
Right.
people's backgrounds, experiences, even their personalities.
Mhm.
It can shape how they view and respond to risk.
Right, because a risk that seems totally manageable to one person
Yeah.
might feel like a complete deal breaker to someone else,
Right.
even if the objective likelihood and impact are the same.
Exactly. And that's where clear and effective communication becomes so crucial in risk management. It's not enough to just identify and assess the risks.
Right.
We also need to make sure that everyone involved understands the potential downsides, the mitigation strategies, and the overall risk appetite of the project or organization.
So for our Snowdonia trip,
Yeah.
we wouldn't just want to hand the students a spreadsheet of potential hazards
Right.
and call it a day.
Exactly.
We'd need to have open and honest conversations about the risks involved. What steps we're taking to manage them and what level of risk everyone is comfortable with.
Precisely. And that communication, it needs to be ongoing throughout the trip.
Right.
Not just a one-time briefing at the beginning.
Right.
We'd want to create a culture of open communication where students feel comfortable voicing their concerns, asking questions, and sharing any new information that might affect the risk landscape.
I can see how that could be tricky.
Yeah.
You don't want to create a climate of fear
Right.
where everyone's constantly worrying about what could go wrong. But at the same time, you need to make sure people are aware of the potential risks
Right.
and empowered to make informed decisions.
It's a delicate balance, for sure. And it's one that requires a thoughtful and nuanced approach to communication. It's about being transparent and honest about the risks,
Right.
without overwhelming people with too much information
Right.
or creating unnecessary anxiety.
So how do we strike that balance? Any tips from Andy's lecture?
Well, one strategy he suggests is using clear, concise language that everyone can understand,
Okay.
avoiding jargon or technical terms
Right.
that might confuse or alienate people. He also emphasizes the importance of tailoring the message to the audience.
So for our Snowdonia trip,
Yeah.
we might use different communication approaches when talking to the students.
Right.
Versus when communicating with their parents or the university administration.
Exactly. The students might be more receptive to informal conversations or visual aids
Right.
that illustrate the risks and mitigation strategies,
Mm-hmm.
while parents and administrators might prefer more detailed reports or presentations.
It's about meeting people where they are
Right.
and using communication styles that resonate with them.
Exactly.
And it's not just about conveying information. It's also about fostering a sense of trust and collaboration.
Absolutely. When people feel like they're part of the process
Right.
and their voices are heard, they're more likely to buy into the risk management strategies
Right.
and feel empowered to contribute to a safe and successful outcome.
This is making me realize that effective communication is almost like a risk mitigation strategy in itself. By fostering open dialogue and transparency,
Right.
you're reducing the likelihood of misunderstandings, conflicts, and those, I didn't know that was a risk.
Moments, precisely. And that brings us to another crucial aspect of the human element of risk management.
Okay.
Building a culture of risk awareness.
Okay, unpack that one for me.
Sure. So it's about moving beyond just a checklist approach to risk management
Okay.
and creating an environment where people are constantly thinking about risks,
Yeah.
identifying potential hazards, and proactively suggesting solutions.
So instead of just reacting to risks as they pop up,
Yeah.
you're encouraging people to anticipate them and even prevent them from happening in the first place.
Exactly. It's about empowering everyone to be risk aware and creating a culture where people feel comfortable speaking up if they see something that doesn't seem right.
I can see how that would be incredibly valuable,
Yeah.
especially in a dynamic environment like our Snowdonia trip,
Right.
where conditions can change rapidly and new risks can emerge unexpectedly.
Precisely. You want to foster a culture where everyone feels like they're part of the safety team,
Right.
not just passive participants.
Right.
And that requires a shift in mindset,
Hmm.
both at the individual and organizational levels.
So how do we go about building that kind of risk-aware culture?
Hmm.
Are there any practical tips from Andy's lecture?
Well, he suggests starting by incorporating risk discussions into regular meetings and communications.
Okay.
This could be as simple as adding a standing agenda item to team meetings
Hmm.
to discuss any new or emerging risks,
Right.
or encouraging people to share any observations or concerns they have.
So instead of just focusing on what's going well,
Yeah,
you're also making space to talk about what could go wrong and how to address it.
exactly. And it's not just about talking about risks.
Mm-hmm.
It's also about celebrating those who identify and report potential hazards,
Right.
recognizing their contributions to safety and encouraging others to do the same.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's about creating a positive feedback loop where people feel valued
Right.
and empowered to speak up about risks.
Mm.
And it's not just about preventing negative outcomes. It's also about fostering a sense of shared responsibility
Right.
and collective ownership of safety.
Exactly. And that can lead to a more resilient and adaptable team or organization that's better equipped to handle whatever challenges come their way.
This has been an incredibly, eye-opening deep dive.
It has been.
We've gone way beyond just the mechanics of risk management
Right.
and explored the crucial role that communication, culture, even emotions play in navigating uncertainty.
And while we've used the Snowdonia trip as our guide, these insights are applicable to, any area of life where risk is present.
Right.
Whether you're leading a team at work, planning a major life event, or simply navigating the everyday challenges of being human. These principles can help you make smarter decisions, build stronger relationships, and ultimately achieve your goals with greater confidence and resilience.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
Yeah, okay.
Risk is an inherent part of life. It's what makes things, interesting, challenging,
Right.
and ultimately rewarding. But it's not something to be feared or avoided.
Right?
It's something to be understood, embraced, and managed effectively.
I agree.
And by incorporating the tools and insights we've discussed today, you can transform risk from a potential threat
Right.
into an opportunity for growth, learning, and even, dare I say, adventure.
Beautifully put.
So to all our listeners out there, go forth and embrace the uncertainty. Take calculated risks, build strong relationships,
Right.
communicate openly, and never stop learning and adapting. And remember, we're always here to support you on your journey.
Yeah.
If you have any thoughts or questions, or even just want to, share your own risk-taking adventures.
Right.
Be sure to connect with us on social media. We love hearing from our listeners.
And until next time, happy diving.